it's not a tradition. You know why I think it landed? Because let's think about a front kick. He basically throws a front spin kick that makes no sense. But if you know how to defend against things, you're not going to see that coming. Like, that's unorthodox.
It's the rope-a-dope.
Yeah, so you're thinking, oh, if he throws like a side kick at me, a front kick, if he throws a spin kick, I can just lift my arm up and block it. But this came like 6 o'clock. Like, so if you're standing straight, it comes right from underneath you. It's a really hard punch. I think it's a terrible kick, but I think that's why it lands. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so bad that it works, if that makes sense to you.
Hey, he had to do something. But during that final flurry of his 18 hits, dude, the music finally kicks in. Dun, dun, for most of that action scene, there's not a lot of, there's the occasional like Travolta's twangy cowboy country theme to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when he runs out of bullets during the gunfight preceding the fisticuffs. But it's like, for the most part, it's just sound effects. Then suddenly, when he lands that first like elbow and punch, the music kicks back in at like 400 decibels. And it's like, Slater's about to wrap this thing up. Like, he's got it going. He's finally grooving.
And I gotta say real quick, I love Hans Zimmer's score in this. That dun 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 boom boom.
Oh yeah,
I love that. And also Holger Gross, the guy who did the production design, his box work in this boxcar, excellent. Have you seen better box work in a boxcar?
I actually counted how many crates they destroyed. So during the actual shootout, so after Slater swings in, Tarzan's in, and knocks Howie Long out, they get into like the machine pistol shotgun gunfight. And during that exchange, they either shoot, dive, or knock over and destroy 7 crates during that moment. And then during the actual fist fight, they destroy 4 more. Bodies going through them, or them knocking them over onto each other.
Wow.
They destroyed 7 crates in that boxcar.
Wow.
Whoever packed that boxcar is probably going to be really angry.
Now, you've done some amazing work on our Rob Roy and Count of Monte Cristo episodes for these final fights, but that's my favorite stat you've ever dropped in the history of your time on movies, films, or final fights, or movies, films, and flicks, for that matter. The box count.
Thank you. I was pretty happy about that.
You were thinking outside the box on that one.
Oh, I see what you did there. Outside the broken box. No, when I was watching this again for like the 3rd time last night, I think it first got to me when they started exchanging gunfire and Christian Slater jumps over 2 boxes as they explode underneath him as he's somehow firing a shotgun while flying through the air. And I was like, wait, how many did they destroy before that? And then I kept watching, and then his ragged body is getting chucked into like every box that's imaginable that's around there. And it's just shattering to splintered pieces. Like, they're doing some serious damage inside this boxcar.
And
then they destroy the boxcar.
Yeah, they do. They blow it up. And they have a dummy too that I kind of love. The John Travolta dummy that gets hit by the nuclear bomb.
If you freeze frame that, it looks at least they kind of got the face right.
And it just makes me happy. But this whole fight, like, so even C. Slate's costume. Like, I love the strategic rips in his shirt in this. That was a really good. Dan Moore was the costume supervisor, and then Melissa Berry was the assistant costume designer. I loved the strategic rip. I love strategic rips in shirts, like the rundown. You know what I'm talking? Like, when there's like C. Slate had some good rips in this shirt, very well dirtied. I dug that.
He's got that nice rip over his left shoulder blade.
Oh, and also all right, so there's a scene before the final fight where he's getting dragged underneath a train. And his entire back half of his body would be jello. But I appreciate that they at least tore up his shoulder. Like, at least, you know what I mean? Like,
That's right. That's where he's got it, yeah.
And Travolta's kicking it earlier on.
He's kicking it during the fight, like booting down on it.
And so at least someone who got dragged from a train finally got rubbled up. So that's kind of nice. Now, I do want to bring up one thing, too. I really love Samantha Mathis in this fight. I think she holds her own. That's why she was cast. John Woo said he wanted her because she wasn't like a damsel in distress. There's a scene in this when Hale and Deakins are fighting, and Samantha separates Hale and Deakins' boxcar with the nuclear bomb from the caboose. So she takes off on it. But when she separates the trains, she makes a jump onto the other train, and that stunt woman's ribs are jello now. Like that stunt woman broke her ribs, correct?
Oh, that stunt woman not only broke her ribs, but her knees.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was the same stunt double for all the scenes. All her falls are like hardcore knee first.
Oh.
Like it is rough. She had a rough go on that movie.
When you watch, how many times have you watched? So, all right, this is random, but in Kickboxer, when he beats up those guys in the bar during the dancing scene, I felt like he murdered those guys. Like I felt their pain. And I also felt the same, like, visceral rib crunching when poor Samantha Mass's stunt double just destroys her ribs. But yeah, I mean, what hurts more? What would you rather have to you, Tom? A fist fight against Deakins or Jello ribs and knees?
Probably Jello ribs and knees. Because I don't think I want to be that close to a nuclear warhead. I think anytime that you're fighting with Deakins, there's going to be the possibility that you're going to get run over by a Humvee or blown up by a helicopter.
Yeah.
Or buried in a coal mine.
Yeah. So it's better to have Jello ribs?
I think I'd rather have Jello ribs.
No, but
I would.
So
Deakins a dude I don't want to mess with. He's unhinged.
Yeah, he's crazy. What grade would you give this final fight? Now,
I think after...
I think 96. On the 96 level, what do you think?
Well, I think I'd give it a good solid B+. Like, there is a lot going on with it. It's not perfect. Like, I even put kind of a note in here that I don't know if it would stand to make, like, the top 10 lists of MFF final fights in the very end. But the fact that there is so much going on, how crazy this movie is, and everything that's taking place outside of this boxcar is just otherworldly. Like, it doesn't make sense what is happening, but what's actually going on in the boxcar between these two guys is probably the most grounded part of the entire movie.
Well, hands down. It's just a good old slugfest.
It's just a good slugfest. Yeah, I enjoy it.
All right, so if it wasn't for the spin punch and Travolta talking smack, and I liked before the fight started breaking out when he put the gun on his forehead for some reason just to look cool because it's a John Woo movie and you need cool gun action.
Yeah.
And then the quick pans on the detonator, and they actually set the timer off by accident, which is insane. But no, I think, all right, you know what? I would give this a B+ as well. What do you think would make this fight better? Before we get out of here, what's one thing you would recommend this fight that would give it an A? What could push this fight over?
Take out that Slater kick.
Take out the
I think it's that forward swinging Slater kick. I think I would have rather seen another punch or an elbow. It's just that kick right there. It gets me every time.
You know what it is? The perfect final fight. Like, you know how many weird questions I have during movies? When you're watching a final fight, you shouldn't have those questions. You should just roll with it. You shouldn't be taken out so that kick takes you out. For me, I would keep the kick because I think it's funny, but I would have Travolta actually use some head movement because his punches are very, like, it's not boxing. Like, it's not, I don't even think he's trying in this. No,
he's just very stationary with it.
Yeah, well, it's just head movement. Like, he just keeps his head in one spot and it never moves. Like, at least kind of have him do, like, he's talking about Ali, right? But he never does any head movement. There's no head movement in this. That's why Slater's able to land all those jabs. So if he kind of, weaved and ducked and weaved a little bit and worked a couple good punches and didn't bop so much, I would give this fight an A.
So here's a question. Travolta previously had always been like a really kind of tall, gangly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not tall, but gangly and skinny. And then sometime there during the early mid-90s, he started bulking out. You could kind of start seeing it there in Pulp Fiction a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think then he just got too ripped? His neck muscles got too big. He couldn't move it.
I mean,
by the time by the time Broken Arrow came into play, I mean, he's a big dude. He is really filled out.
But he's a dancer, though. Like, he can still dance. Like, he went and did Hairspray after this. So, I think, like, even if he's bulky, he could move his hip, like, knees and, he could do this with his head a little bit. Like, he can dance. 2 years prior, he was out in Pulp Fiction busting out great moves. And in Face Off, dude, he's, like, all over the place. Like, he's moving a lot in that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I don't know. Listen, he's in it. He fights. He's fun. He went over the top on purpose. But a little movement. But I hate being picky here because this was a delight of a fight, man. When growing up, my brother and I talked about this all the time. So I'm happy it exists and I love talking about it. I just want a little more head movement.
I just want to throw one scenario at you really quick. Mm-hmm. So when C. Slater, they finally run out of bullets. Travolta runs out of bullets. Hale has what you assume to have one more round in the shotgun. And so they're squaring off in the boxcar and Deakins is like, don't shoot me, I've got the detonator. See, I push this button, it deactivates. I push this button and it activates. What's just to stop Slater of just shooting him in the face with the shotgun and going over and picking up the remote?
That's an amazing question. Wow.
I was watching that last night, and I'm like, he is 5 feet away. There's no way Travolta would be able to have the reaction time to press any of the buttons. So the only thing I could think of was C. Slates just wanted to finally have his go at him.
It had to have been, because even when
he knew his time was coming.
Yep.
He was bound to win something, and this was it. But man, what a gamble.
And it paid off, and it led with him doing a flying boop boop to the nuclear missile.
Oh, I love that.
And he waited.
Slater spends more time flying through the air than he actually does like running around in this movie.
He looks at the detonator, and instead of just pressing it right then and there, he waits 2 seconds, jumps out of the thing, and then presses it.
Jumps, rotates, spins back in, because I'm sure it's an IR signal. It's got a direct line of sight. Rotates in midair and presses it. And so cool.
He lands terribly, too. If you jump like that.
He should have broken both his collarbones for sure.
There's a lot of Jell-O ribs going around.
But he got his $20 back.
Yeah, he did.
Then he dropped for Terry Carmichael for some reason.
Yeah,
I assume they were about to make out.
Yeah. Dude, Terry's cool, man. I like her in this movie.
She's a badass.
She takes out that train the train conductor easily. Dude has an automatic gun. She just plugs him from 70 feet away.
Yeah, with her pistol.
Badass.
That's a heck of a shot.
Well, this was fun, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Tom Schreismer, this is Final Fights. We'll see you next week.